Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad you're with us today. It is June 28th, 2022. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter your questions into the Zoom chat window. For those watching on Facebook today, please just enter your questions into the comment field. Also, if you'd like, in the Zoom chat window, you're welcome to put your personal contact information so you can network with everybody else who's on the call today. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Remember, your resume and your LinkedIn profile will not get you a job. What it will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills is what's going to get you your next job. So if you'd like to have a free practice interview, just go to dallaspitcrew.com and you can reach out to them and they'll be glad to offer some help on how you can do that. Well, every month, every week, we have a different speaker who talks about LinkedIn from a little bit different point of view. A couple of the people are career consultants. One's a digital sales and marketing professional, and our speaker today is VandeMotter, who's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search. Kurt pays the big bucks to make LinkedIn work and to use the back end of LinkedIn and to be able to see how to use the recruiting package. So I think, do I see Kurt? I see Kurt's microphone, but I don't see him connected to the video. Kurt, are you with us? Hello, Kurt.
I'm here. I just don't know what's going on with my video, but I don't need the video. My picture will do fine.
Okay, we'll get you on here. All right.
And I'll share my screen or let you do that. I don't know what's going on. Every time I click on it, it says start video, Alt V, but that's not working. So I don't know what I've done.
Let me see if I can I'll make you co-host and then you can share your screen here. Okay. You should be able to share your screen if you'd like.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's just do a warm up first. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you're all here. Today's meeting is really not about me. It's more about you and any questions that you've got. We are in a real interesting time in the job, world these days. Every day is different. Every day is different. So if you've got questions, not just about LinkedIn, but from recruiters or anything else that you've got as it relates to your search, again, this meeting's not about me, it's about you. And if I've got anything that I can help provide information that might help accelerate or set something straight for you, make sure you send that question to Jeff. And it can come in anytime. We've got about 45 minutes, 50 minutes here together. So don't hold back. I'm really counting on you guys coming up with some questions, especially with what's going on in the market today. And I'll start off by saying that I think that we are starting to see in the market what we've heard about on the news for the last couple of months, and that's called that R word, recession. They always say that you're in a recession before you know you're in a recession. And I'm just going to put it out there that I think we're already in the recession. The first 6 months of this year have been crazier than any 6 months of my recruiting career. I think I closed 17 or 18 jobs. I mean, it's over the top, and it's gone silent in the last 2 weeks. Now, sometimes that's because I'm going on vacation. In this particular case, I was on vacation last week up in Northern Michigan playing golf, and I'm leaving again tomorrow to go see my kids for a couple of days up in Colorado. But that really is not, I don't think, what's going on. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from other recruiters, but I think that you've got to really hone in on your skills, your communication skills, and everything else you do to really make sure that you're effectively communicating, both written, verbally, online, offline, with anybody that that is trying to find you or you're trying to find in regards to accelerating your search. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and what I've done, and hopefully, again, that helps. It's not about me, but helps set the slate so that you can understand, the depth of maybe the questions that I might be able to answer for you. So my background is very unique. I'm a retained search executive. There's 3 types of recruiters in the industry. There's internal recruiters, and those recruiters work for companies. Okay, they work for AT&T. They work for companies. They're internal recruiters, and they're working for the executive team, management team, to help find and fill jobs for that organization. So there's internal recruiters, and then there's contingent recruiters. Contingent recruiters don't get paid anything unless they bring the candidate to the table. So if I'm a CEO running a mid-sized company and I'm looking for a new VP of sales, I could have one option is to go talk to 4 or 5 contingent recruiters and say, hey guys, I'm looking for a VP of sales. If you know anybody, send them my way. This is what I'm looking for. And each one of them might send in 10 candidates, but the only guy that gets paid anything is the guy that submitted the resume of the guy that gets the job. And then the last one is retained search executives. That's what I do, which means that companies select me, they pay me a retainer, and I work exclusively for those organizations to fill jobs. Why is it important for you to know the difference between these types of recruiters? Because we're going to ask different questions. That's the bottom line. We're going to have a different pace. Contingent recruiters are going to be going really fast. Retained recruiters are going to be a little bit more at pause in the method and their methodology and as they move forward and their Gantt. And internal recruiters, I worked with T-Mobile at one point on some searches, and their internal recruiters were juggling anywhere from 50 to 75 jobs at a time. So internal recruiters can be really, really busy. Again, it's a note for you to know so that you can communicate effectively with those folks. So I told you I'm unique in the sense of how I got into recruiting. I came out of corporate America, not as a recruiter, but as a sales, marketing, and operations executive with companies like Pepsi, Dr. Pepper 7-Up, AT&T, Startup Technologies. And I ended my career with a company called Intervoice. And I was running the telecommunications sales division for them. And my boss called me on the 4th of July. I was 48 years old, and she said, I've decided to eliminate your job. When you get back from vacation, take your time. You can stay as long as you want. When you get back, go ahead and negotiate your severance package with HR. So when I left there, I made one phone call to a friend of mine that was in the recruiting business, and he wanted me to join his organization. He had a business up in Galena, Illinois. And for you that know where Galena or don't know, the Galena is up in the middle of nowhere. It's outside of Illinois. It's in Illinois. It's at the corner of Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Population about 5,000 in the summer and about 1,000 in the winter. I had a son that was a senior in high school and a daughter that was a freshman. And then I had another daughter that was in college already. So there was no way I was going to relocate up there. And I already finished a job in Chicago where I commuted every week for 3 years. So I really wasn't interested in the commute, but I was intrigued by his insight that I would make a great recruiter. So that's when I made a decision to start my own business. And since have been a retained search executive recognized by Forbes as one of the top search firms in the country and #1 in the state of Texas. So I do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And I think I know and understand all the tricks and ways around it, but every day is a new day, and so it's a great tool. Jeff, do we have any questions so far? I want to make sure that we're not jumping too far ahead.
Yeah, nothing in the chat window yet.
So when LinkedIn developed this product called LinkedIn Recruiter, what they did is they developed a separate set of APIs. And LinkedIn Recruiter actually sits on top of LinkedIn. And so the content and the database for LinkedIn Recruiter is LinkedIn. And so when I'm conducting a search, I'm coming in through LinkedIn Recruiter. You as a candidate cannot see me anywhere. There are somebody just popped a question. I'll look at that in a minute. But when I'm looking at LinkedIn and looking at candidates, you can't see me anywhere. I know that when you go to LinkedIn, you can look at a section that says who's looked at your profile recently. And sometimes you get the names and other times you get recruiter. But I want you to all know that when I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter, I'm not even in that section. I'm nowhere. I'm totally invisible to you as a candidate. And the reason that is, if it may seem shameful or why did they do that? Well, because I do spend a lot of money with LinkedIn and I do send a lot of messages and I look at a lot of profiles. This morning, I'm conducting a search. If anybody knows anybody in Tucson, Arizona, I'm conducting a search for a controller, family-owned business in the retail space. So I spent the morning in LinkedIn Recruiter and I probably looked at about 225 profiles. If every one of those people that I looked at saw that I looked at their background and reached out and called and said, hey, I understand you looked at my profile. What can I do for you? Or, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'd never get anything done. And so it will never, I don't think that it'll ever change that candidates will have visibility into the recruiters that are looking at their background. And that's part of the fee that we pay to have that product. But let's go, I'm going to go ahead and launch a screen here. Let's go to share screen. Yes. And let's go to, okay. I'm looking at a candidate. I'm going to get out of the screen here and go up here to recruiter. And I'm going to go to advanced search. Okay. So the dashboard that you just saw that I kind of zoomed off of real quick is kind of, from a recruiter's perspective, it's my dashboard that shares, or it shows me all the jobs that I'm working on. And it gives me information on my pipeline of whether or not somebody's applied for a job or whether or not I've messaged, whether I'm communicating with them. If I'm working with another recruiter, they can dump and resumes or profiles into a project, and then I can just go through and go click no, click yes, click no, and send them a real quick message. And I'll show you how I can do that. But I zoom past that because that's all pretty confidential information, because a lot of the searches that I do are completely confidential. So let's just start a search. Jeff, what do you want to search for today? Can't hear you.
Forget. All right. How about a product manager, consumer packaging in the Chicago area?
Okay. Product manager. Okay. That person might also be called a product category manager. They might be called a product development manager. They might be because we're looking for a product manager, it's a manager title, it's not a director. As a recruiter, I probably wouldn't go to the director level unless I was hoping that maybe one of those people would know somebody that was in their organization or had been in their organization that could be a good fit. That would be a different search than what we're going to conduct here. So that's the theory and that's the thinking. I'm going to try to share with you how and why I think the way I do. This is somebody that's either had it or currently or had it in the past. Jeff told me we want to look in Chicago. So I'm going to go up here to Chicago, Illinois. And I can drill down into specific, these are all suburbs of Chicago, but I've selected the Chicago area and it should capture most of those areas. And at this point, I want somebody that's there, current. I don't want to look for somebody that's open to relocate there. So I'm going to keep that open. And then the other thing that Jeff gave me was that it was consumer products. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to industries and I'm putting there consumer products. Okay, consumer goods. Consumer goods are a lot different than consumer services. Consumers, I don't want consumer, I want consumer goods. Okay, so that's in there. If we're doing consumer goods, we might look at food and beverages. We might look at food production, just for grins, okay? Now, there's right now 616 candidates that are in that have what I'm looking for in their profile. We're going to start to look at some of these candidates, but there's another way that I can also add, okay, to sort out candidates. And so the first one is this open to work up here. These are candidates that have self-selected that they are open to work. They've either got the green wreath around their head, or they've just selected that they want to tell recruiters that they're open to work, but they've selected that they're open to work. Out of 617, 164 have said they're open to work, okay? I don't have to look at 616 candidates or 17 candidates would take me a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, and I may not even get to the end of it. So as a recruiter, again, I'm giving you tips in what I do. The funnel I started is pretty good funnel. It's 617 candidates, but I can look at 164 candidates really quick, okay? So my recommendation to you as a candidate is that if you are actively looking, you're out of work or you're proactively looking, I would highly recommend that you check that box that says that you're open to work, because you will move to the head of the class when recruiters are trying to find candidates. The other one that is really important is this: are more likely to respond, okay? And why is that important? LinkedIn tracks you as a candidate. If you didn't know that, LinkedIn tracks you and they know when you reply to messages and you don't reply to messages. So if you decide to be silent to candidates or to recruiters or anybody that's sending you notes that says, hey, I just wanted to thank you or happy birthday, whatever it might be, you really need to consider sending a note back. Even if it's just thank you very much, or I'm not interested, or let me think about who I might be able to recommend to you in my network, or I'm not interested, this is not a good fit. It doesn't have to be 6 sentences. It can be 3 words. It can be 2 words. But I highly recommend that you start replying to every message, because this is a way for you to, again, accelerate your visibility to recruiters. Okay. So let's just go to the open to work, folks. And then once we've done that, we can come back over here and I'm going to move you guys out of the way. I'm going to hit search. And confidentially, we're going to start looking at people. So if you see a friend or you see something that you don't like, please keep it to yourself. What happened? Whoa. Let's go to history. Okay, so here's 178 candidates. And what you're going to start to see is we haven't selected any keywords, but if we wanted to take it down one more level, and let's just say that we were looking for somebody that was a product manager, product category manager, and we wanted them to have a keyword. We wanted them to have Nielsen experience, okay? Let's take Nielsen out. I might have spelled that wrong. Put in IRI. Let's try this. Okay, so 8 out of those candidates actually have IRI experience. So let's just look at Rebecca real quick. She went to the Kellogg School of Management. She's in the Chicago area. She works in the food and beverage area. She has not given me, now she has indicated that she is open to work right here, okay? We've got 4 mutual connections. She's at a company called Planet Plus Foods today. As a recruiter, I can click on Planet Plus and go see what they do. So again, you're getting visibility into the product and the LinkedIn recruiter product. I can see all 12 employees. I can follow them if I want. I can learn about who they are. I can see other people in their organization. Okay. So not a bad, if I don't know who they are, not a bad. Came out of ConAgra. She was a brand director, Del Monte. So a lot of good food background. Went to the Kellogg School of Management, got her MBA 8 years ago, 10 years ago almost. Went to Northwestern before that. We've got a really smart executive here. Now, she's open to work, but I don't know what's going on. She's a head of marketing today. There could be a lot going on in this organization with COVID and everything. So who knows what's going on, but she's indicated she hasn't put the wreath around her head. You remember, you're going to see some of them that have that green wreath. A lot of candidates ask me, what do you recommend? And quite honestly, I think I've heard it so many times now. I think that this is Jeff's recommendation, not mine, but I agree with it, is that if you're actively looking for a job, why wouldn't you try to tell everybody you could? And so if you check the box that doesn't put the green wreath around it, which is the one that everybody can see, and you only tell recruiters, you might be missing out some opportunities. But maybe Rebecca is not actively looking. Maybe she is just an active candidate with a job. So she's a proactive candidate. She may not want to put that green wreath around her head because she doesn't want her friends and cohorts and people that she's worked with in the past to know that she's open to work. In this particular scenario, recruiters are the only ones that can see that open to work, okay? So she hasn't taken, as I said before, she hasn't taken advantage of this summary section. And I think that it's really important, Jeff, that we, highlight that this is a great place for you to tell your story. This is not a place where you cut and copy and match your resume. This is where you use sentences and keywords to talk about who you are and what you've done. We put in one keyword, and that was IRI. Now I'm trying to see here where I see IRI, Senior Product Manager. So the IRI did not pop up as a keyword in this young lady's background, but the fact that she was a senior product manager is what has given us the clue. Now, it's been a long time ago that she did that. That was back in 2015. So that was a long time ago. If I'm not looking for a director, Rebecca may not be the right candidate, because as the head of marketing, is she ready to go back and just be a product manager when she was a director and she was a marketing director before that? Okay. Now, as a recruiter, would Rebecca be somebody that I want to network with? Okay. Absolutely. So just to make it show you how easy it is, I can click on here and I can go in and send her a message, and I can quickly drop a message in. This is for another job. It's for this controller in Tucson, but I have a template that pops up, and I can just quickly customize it for Rebecca and hit send, and we're off to the races. Okay. So really simple way to communicate with candidates. I can save that candidate to a project and keep them in my applicant tracking system. if I really want to get a hold of Rebecca, and it's because of networking or anything else, and I don't want to send her an email, then I can come in here and I can see who do I know that is connected to her, because these are the people that are directly connected to Rebecca. So Matthew is a direct connection between Rebecca and I. And because he and I are connected, I have his contact right here. So I could send him a note and say, hey, Matthew, trying to reach Rebecca. Is there any chance you would consider making an introduction? If not, just let her know I'm trying to reach her and provide my contact information in hopes that maybe she'll call or write me. Okay. So as a recruiter, I'm using all the tools I can to reach the candidates and the people that I want to. I can't just assume that if I send them an email that they're going to send me a message back and want to communicate with me. Let's take a break for a second, Jeff, and see what questions we got in the queue.
All right, the one question that I have, Brandy asked, what are the key components to place in our LinkedIn account to ensure that we're found by recruiters? Also, what things should we avoid?
Yep. So the number one thing is what we've just talked about, keywords. Okay. If you're an architect, you're not going to be found because the keywords that you use in your profile are going to describe you and your background as an architect. You're not going to be found by me when I'm looking for even if it's in Chicago, when I'm looking for this product manager. So understand that we can't be found by everybody, but what we want to do is be found by the people that are the closest to and work within the industries that we're trying to get a job. So what does that mean and what do you do? Keywords. If you need to have about a list of about 100 keywords. And those keywords should be smothered throughout your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Where do you get keywords? Well, you get them from your resume. You can go through there and highlight, I'm looking at a resume right now. Broad-based background spanning more than 30 years in healthcare. Healthcare is a keyword. Startups, that's a keyword. Turnarounds, those are keywords. Financial management, those are keywords. Operations are keywords. So there's a lot of words in a resume that are just fluff, but I want you to put a list of the 100 keywords together. If you have a struggling with finding keywords, go out to the internet and go to LinkedIn and start searching job descriptions. And I just read you keywords off of a candidate's resume, but go to a job description and look at the keywords of what are they looking for. If you're trying to get a job with this consumer packaged goods company that I'm trying to do this product search for in Chicago for Jeff, and I'm looking for somebody that's got consumer packaged goods, Chicago, product manager, then I want to make sure that I have got my LinkedIn profile smothered with as many of those words as I possibly can so that I pop up ahead of Renee and become, number one in that whole search. Okay.
If I can, let me tell you an example I had yesterday. Somebody sent me an email going, I don't think my LinkedIn profile is very good. I'm not getting any hits. And I said, well, send me what keywords that you're looking for, and I'll put them in and see if I'll type in the keyword and see if I can find you. Well, I went through the first 6 or 7 keywords he sent me, and these were all keywords that he had put underneath his name. So this was, where it says head of marketing, or, this is what their headline was underneath their name. He had 8 or 10 job titles. I couldn't find him once on any of those job titles. And I think the reason is that was the only place it was. He never used those same words in his about section or in any of the jobs that he had. So it didn't show up multiple times so that it would be found, so that it would be higher up in the list.
Yep. So again, this is, and again, we're not picking apart Rebecca. If she's a friend of anybody's on the call, please, don't tell her that I'm hacking on her here, but definitely a lot more room in her summary. And then this is where we talk about, she's cut and pasted basically her resume into LinkedIn and given us no verbiage on keywords and things that she's done. So while she was at Del Monte and a senior brand manager on the vegetable side, there's a lot of territory that she could cover in there to talk about what she's done, who she did it with, what her accomplishments were, and so forth. So take advantage of that real estate. That's the best way to get found by recruiters, is to take advantage of that real estate.
Is there anything that you would advise as far as avoiding? What would you avoid?
Well, I avoid cutting and pasting my resume. You can post your resume on it, but don't cut and paste. Use your language skills and sentences within LinkedIn. One of the things I would definitely do, we didn't talk about this yet, in that summary section, I would definitely 100%, if you are actively looking for a job, I would put my email address and my phone number. Okay. I probably wouldn't use any foul language. I'd be very, very cautious about, anything, I don't want to say negative, but, don't use LinkedIn as a place to express your frustration with whatever in life you might be frustrated with right now. So use LinkedIn this is not Match.com and it's not Facebook. So use it in a professional fashion. And I don't think you can go wrong from that perspective. So I don't have any really don't do's, but a lot of more to do's.
Right. Well, I think, the one thing to avoid is don't avoid, or, just be sure to put your phone number and email address in there, because, she says she's open to, a new job, but yet you have no way to contact her. And that's just,
Yep.
That's hard.
No, there's no question. And that is a huge differentiator. If you are actively looking and I pop on your profile, okay, I pop on your profile and I see that you are actively looking and you've given me your email address or your phone number, okay, we are golden now, okay, because as a recruiter, I don't have to send you an email. The only option that I have in communicating with Rebecca is to send her an email. There's no other way for me to communicate with Rebecca. Okay. Now let's go on to the next guy and see. Here's Peter. Again, we see what more of his summary. He's got a little bit more information. He's given us some keywords. He's worked in different channels. He's worked on supply chain. Great career with Colgate, 13 years. Solid education, Thunderbird. Okay, so solid character. Again, I don't have any way to get a hold of Peter other than send him an email or look at connections and see if I know one of these people well enough that they would consider making an introduction to me for me. And that they look at their LinkedIn that often. I mean, that's one of the problems that people that aren't actively looking, they sometimes don't look at their LinkedIn profiles very often. I mean, you'd be amazed. I get notes from candidates that are like, yeah, that looks like a really cool opportunity. I hope I'm not too late. And it was a job I had last year. It's like, sorry, dude, you better look at your LinkedIn profile a little bit more often. That was a job I had open last September. And again, that doesn't happen just once a month. That happens quite often. You'd be amazed. So look at your LinkedIn and answer and reply and use this as an active tool. But the last thing is, Jeff, what you don't do is I want you to have a great picture on there. Okay. There's many a times that I'm working a search and the profile I pull up is Pat, call it Pat Jacobs. And it's a picture of a husband and wife at the beach. Well, number one, I don't want to see a picture of you at the beach. And number two, don't have a picture of you and your wife in there because I don't know who's Pat. Is it the woman or the man? So again, you don't have to spend a lot of money on pictures. You can do this with your iPhone or have a friend do it for you. But have somewhat of a current picture on there that represents who you are. I always tell candidates, there's a guy that's a good friend of mine, and he'd laugh if he knew I was telling the story. But I showed up at an event one day, and he's my age, and you guys can't see me. That picture's probably a little bit older than what I really am. I've got quite a bit of gray hair. I've got white hair. and and I showed up at an event, and he had very similar hair, but all of a sudden he had dark hair. And I was like, Jack, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it just makes me feel a little younger, and my wife recommended it. And I'm like, man, you can't hide your age. Okay. I'm sorry, but I don't mean to be that offensive to anybody, but you can't hide your age. You get to an interview, and if you're 60 years old, you're 60 years old. You can't change it. So, having just a mature, good picture there is really important. Again, more information than you wanted, but stick to the simple parts of it.
Can we go look at the next profile to see?
Yeah. So
to see if
let's move on and see if we've got anybody here that's doing it right. Okay. Here's Chris Grant. He went to Notre Dame. I'm an Irish guy, so I love that.
No about section at all, no details.
Nothing. I mean, nothing in here. Obviously he's never had to look for a job. He's, pretty talented, graduated from college in 14. So, 9 years ago, had a good career with Textron, was probably recruited by somebody that left there to Newell Brands, and then pivoted up to TTI Floors. I don't know what they are. Hoover, I guess. I didn't know that. I don't know that brand, but Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's see. He went to school at Notre Dame, but I don't know where he grew up at. Again, only way I have to communicate with Chris right now is to check that box and call him, or to check that inbox. Now, as I said, I'm working on this search in Tucson. And after I take the first try at talking to candidates through InMail, if there's people that I want to reach, I have no problem if they're working, to Google the name of the company and literally try to get somebody that will either pass me to you as a candidate or to your voicemail. And any other tool I can do. I mean, as recruiters, we're investigators as well. And so we don't just, people ask me, well, do you just use LinkedIn? It's like, no, I don't just use LinkedIn. I do use LinkedIn to get names, because when I call in and try to talk to the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Tucson to see if he knows anybody that I should be talking to, it's a lot better if I know that person's name than if I just call in and say, hey, can I talk to the president? Okay. So, again, we try to turn stones in a lot of different directions and keep conversations flowing with a lot of different people, because we just don't know where our next stone is going to be, where the next candidate's going to be uncovered.
Anne asked a really good question. What is your perspective on including a career break on LinkedIn? So a few months ago, LinkedIn offered a new feature where you can put in that you're between jobs or whatever. Is this something to give you a current job, or you're taking time off for health, or taking time off to take care of families? What's your perspective on that?
I think that if you've got a break in your resume, a break in your LinkedIn profile, then I think that one way or another, it's appropriate to communicate that. But I don't know that I'd take up a lot of space in LinkedIn to do that. I think I want to do that with the recruiter and the conversation with the hiring manager, somebody to say, candidly, you're going to see a little bit of a break in my resume. And I had an aging parent that I had to take off and go take care of. And I had no other siblings to do it, or any number of stories. It could be with a family or any other situation. I don't want to say that you try to cover it up, but I think that I don't think that you need to communicate it on LinkedIn. I would, again, try to communicate it on a call or in an email than to try to explain that here. People people interpret things so differently today and every day that I wouldn't take the space to do that. If there's a break in your schedule, there's a break in your schedule. And the recruiter's going to say, hey, Trent, in this case, I got his background pulled up. Trent, why were, there's a break where you left here and you were there. What happened there? And we'll get the answer, because that's what recruiters do. We have to go through and understand your progression of where you were and why did you leave? What motivated you to leave this job and go to this other job? Here we're looking at Trent, and, I would want to know, why did he leave Wrigley to go to Mars? It looked like a great job with Wrigley. He was a director, and he went over to be just the director of Grocery South. So why did he leave? Was he motivated by money? Did his boss take him there? What happened to his background? Now, I will say, this is a great example of a candidate that has given us a whole lot of detail. Almost probably cut and pasted his resume. So it could be written in a sentence fashion that may be more appealing, but great content here. Okay. If I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for a sales leader, a product developer, somebody that knows retail, this candidate is just top shelf by that. Great picture, great, his profile's complete. He hasn't left anything in years. He has nothing to hide. He graduated in 88. So he's what, 7 years. So he's 45 years, or he's 53 years old, 54 years old. So he's got nothing to hide. But this is a really solid profile, other than the fact that he has said that he's open to work, and he hasn't provided us in his summary. He could have given us a lot more information and his contact information. Yep. I always like to see who's in these guys that I know, because I'm connected to a lot of people, and I don't know everybody. Okay, so here's another candidate. A lot better content written in English fashion versus the way Trent did it. He could have done that when he was at Newly Weeds Foods as well, and at Wells Fargo. But good picture.
But in this case, for the most part, it reads more like a job description. It doesn't really tell me tells me what he did, but not his accomplishments.
That's right. That's a really good point.
And that's what would stand out to you. You want to know that this person's sold this, done this amount, been this productive.
Right.
So, show us the results.
Yeah, exactly. But it wouldn't be, again, this is the first step. So it wouldn't preclude me from wanting to have a conversation with Doug. And I'd have a lot of questions to say, okay, so when you were as the marketing director at Morton Salt, give me some of the accomplishments that you had and prioritize those for me. So again, it's just a starting point, but not a bad place. He's using a lot of key words here. If in any job you've had, if you've had P&L responsibility, that's really important. That's a key word you need to put in there. I know, because I came out of the consumer packaged goods, he's used food service, food processing, manufacturing. Those are some really innovation, pipeline, B2B, e-commerce. These are all really good key words that will get him recognized by a lot of people. Let's go to the next person and see what we get. Here's Alex. And Alex, there's the IRI. So he's the only one that has IRI. He's open to work. He's used that approach of more of the sentence and not really the accomplishments. Does mix it in here. He says that he was applied data analytics, market 651 he's an analytics guy, data guy, ConAgra, associate brand manager. So super smart guy as well. Went to Cornell. Here's one that I'll share with you. People say, what are the do's and don'ts? Unless you were the valedictorian, he went to North Park University, economics, finance, and he had 3.5. Get it out of there. 3.5 is average. It's not extraordinary. Now, Masters of Business, he had a 3.9. He might instead of putting 3.9, he might put Dean's List or something like that. But just be careful of putting numbers about your grade point. And the importance of it is really irrelevant, because if I go back, he doesn't tell me the year, but I can probably figure it out. He got his master's in 19. So sometime around 2015, he probably graduated from college. And 15, 16. And so he, the grade point, if after 5 or 6 years, really irrelevant. It's more relevant for kids that are just coming out of college, because they have less to say about themselves. Any other questions in there, Jeff?
No, I don't see anything else right now.
Okay. Somebody's got to have a question. So again, let's talk about what's going on in the market for just a little bit. I threw that bomb out there at the beginning that I think that we're in this recession. Again, I just want to reiterate and reconfirm how important it is that you use this valuable real estate. One of the questions we get a lot of the time is, should I have a premium version versus the free version? To a recruiter, it doesn't matter which one you've got. But if you're using it for search tools and you're trying to find and connect with people, the paid version may have some added value to it, but I don't even know what the cost is anymore to make that recommendation. Has that come up in other calls, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's like $40, 35 to $40 a month for the premium version. The next version up is like 65 or 70 a month. I mean, I think for the most part, you can do with the free version to get most everything you need. But yeah, recruiters will find you regardless.
That's right. That's exactly right. So it's really how effective you want to be and how much you're using it to make connections and so forth. So that's the difference between the accelerated version. But whatever version you're using, the bottom line is this is real estate. Okay, it's a very, very good, solid real estate. There isn't a recruiter out there that doesn't use LinkedIn Recruiter, okay, or doesn't use LinkedIn. Okay, not everybody uses LinkedIn Recruiter because it's expensive, but every recruiter uses LinkedIn to some fashion or not. So you've got to have a presence here. And while you've got a presence, you might as well make sure that you're just taking advantage of that real estate the best you can. So coming to these seminars are good because it gives you the ability to listen and learn about what recruiters are looking for as we look at profiles. I've just demonstrated that. We looked at 6 or 7 different great profiles, and you can see the difference between, some of the good ones and some of the bad ones. Again, it doesn't make any one of these people a better employee or less employee. They just, based on what we put in there, that's what we found. If we went back and just for grins, we could take out this IRI because we put that in there and got just a few. Let's clear that, because we didn't have anybody in that batch that had self-selected that they were open to new opportunities. So now we've got a much bigger audience. We've got 170. We've got that checked up there, open to work. And I'm looking for somebody that's self-selected. Here's a guy right here. So Clayton, he's got, I call that the green wreath, but it's the open to work. Okay. Here is, again, not full effective use of his summary. Okay. He was at Kraft Heinz for 12 years. So he's got a solid background. Before that, he was with Kimberly-Clark. Got, a strong background. He's an Aussie, nothing wrong with that. So again, he is definitely open to work, but he is not provided as a recruiter to a recruiter any of the things that we need in order to communicate with this guy, other than, again, sending that in mail. Okay. Which is, it's a crapshoot. You won't believe the numbers. I'll tell you the numbers right now, and you probably won't believe it. I send out probably about, well, it depends on how active I'm working in what searches I'm working on, but I can send out as many as 50 or 60 notes a day. And you would think that I would get, because I'm a retained search guy, they're all friendly notes. What would you think my response rate would be? 30%, 50%, 60%? What do you think, Jeff? Any guesses?
Oh, I would bet 20, 25 probably.
Yeah. So the average response rate in LinkedIn Recruiter is about 3 or 4%. Okay. 3 or 4% of candidates reply to recruiters. Mine is very high because I've been trained on how to write really short, great, quick messages. I run in about the 21%.
Wow.
So you can do the numbers. I send out 100 messages to 100 candidates that I've pre-screened, and I think they could be a great fit for this job that I've got. And out of 100, 20 of them will reply back to me. Wow. So you talk about recruiters ghosting candidates. Recruiters get ghosted by candidates more so than anything you'll ever imagine, but that's okay. I mean, not everybody that I'm communicating with is actively looking for a job. And not everybody knows Recruiter or LinkedIn as well as you all do now. So you're equipped to do a much better job and to make some improvements to your profile, and hopefully be able to ask better questions and communicate with recruiters that call you. We can back up on that a minute. I didn't say it, and I want to make sure I articulate this, is that when a recruiter calls you, there is nothing wrong with saying, could you tell me a little bit about your recruiting practice? Are you an internal recruiter? What kind of recruiter are you? And stop the conversation that it's all about you, and ask them a question or two about what they're doing and who they are. They're calling you. They've got your resume. They got your phone number somewhere, maybe off of LinkedIn. So it's okay for you to be a little cautious and to ask a couple of questions up front before they dive in and say, this is why I'm calling. I often start by cold calling, saying, hey, Jack, first of all, I found your contact information on LinkedIn, and I'm a retained search executive, but I know I'm cold calling you. Is this a good time, or should we talk later today? So I always give my candidates the option to back out right then. If they're on another call, or they're sitting with their boss or something else, that they can have an out that says, absolutely, call me back later. But if you're a candidate and you get a cold call, you're driving down the highway, you're on the way to I had a candidate today that was on the way to the grocery store, and he, very honest, he just said, Kurt, I'm in the car and I'm on my way to the grocery store. Can I call you in 2 hours? Absolutely. I want that guy to be the best he can be when I have him on the phone. I don't want that guy that's worried about running a red light or getting killed by, some crazy that ran a red light. So we want to do you right. So don't feel like you're a candidate and you got a recruiter that called you and it's like, I got to talk to this guy. Nobody's called me in 3 days. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to talk to you right now. And blah, blah. So take a deep breath, ask a couple good questions, learn about what they're calling you for. Take a deep breath, and then start to put your story to work.
Kurt, we have one more question here from David. He says, what's the best way to reverse engineer to find the right keywords for a new industry? So if somebody's pivoting from this to that, what do you recommend, how to find those keywords?
Job descriptions. Yep. Go to LinkedIn, write down 5 jobs that you're looking for that fit into that vernacular. If you're going into technology, whatever it might be, write down 5 job titles and go in and search for that job and do a US search. Don't put any blinders on. You don't care where the job is, because you're just trying to find keywords, and look at like 3 or 4 of them, and then stop, go look at the next job that you identified, the job title, pull up 2 or 3 of those, pull out the keywords, And another way to do this, I'm old school, but I print them and then highlight them, you know, and have them right there so you don't have to ever go back and recreate it. But yeah, that's the best and only way in my mind.
Kurt, well, Kurt, thank you very much for your time. Yeah, appreciate this. This is, I think, for everybody on the call to see what recruiters look for when they're using the recruiting package. I mean, it really helps. It tells people you've got to have keywords and then put your contact information in, because I know that you would prefer, if you find a good candidate, you want to pick up the phone and call them. That's the first thing you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a search and I've got, 100 people that I've looked at and 3 of them have got their contact information, those are the top 3 candidates that I'll ever go to. I mean, I start there and accelerate. I mean, it's the lowest hanging fruit. So absolutely, that's the biggest differentiator you can offer recruiters, giving them your personal contact information, not your address and where you live, but your email address and your phone number.
Right.
Yep.
Kurt, thank you very, very much. Great information. Hopefully everybody's learned something. You've got something you can take away this week and apply to your LinkedIn profile. So Kurt, once again, thank you very, very much.
No problem. Hey, go USA. Happy 4th of July.
Yes. Happy 4th of July to you. All right. Well, we'd like to, everybody, if you can, please raise your right hand. We're going to do the LinkedIn promise. Whoop, let's see here. Get it to work right. Let's see here. Here we go. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Very, very important. Everybody wants to connect with other people, but send that personal note. Tell somebody why. On LinkedIn, they have white connect buttons and blue connect buttons. A white connect button will automatically send out that LinkedIn request and didn't give you a chance to do anything. So whenever you see a white connect button, click on that person's face, and then you should see a blue connect button, and a blue connect button will always allow you to send the personal note. Every day I get LinkedIn requests with people who want to connect with me, and if there's not a personal note, I'm not going to connect. So I don't know why we should do so. All right, Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us tomorrow. The practice interview team. You'll be able to watch an actual practice interview from the PIC crew. It's always an interesting time to do that. If you'd like to get a free interview, just reach out to dallaspiccrew.com or just go there and they will, you can find out the information on how to schedule a practice interview for yourself. This Thursday, normally, if you see there, the first and third Thursday, we talk about resumes. The second, fourth Thursday, we talk about networking. But it's a 5th Thursday special. I'll be doing a presentation on the successful job searches. Focus on these 4 areas. There's 4 areas of your job search that you really need to focus on. Get section 1 down, then get section 2, then do section 3, and then do section 4, and you will be ready to go in your job search. So join me this Thursday at 1 o'clock. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. It'll be the 1st of July. It's hard to believe a half year is over. But the first Friday of every month, we always do open forum. We'll talk about whatever job questions you have, and you can offer your opinions and suggestions to other people who are on the call. So if you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to do so. We just passed 13,800 members in the Career DFW group. You do not have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join that group. I just started one group when I started each of the 2 websites. This session was recorded. It is going to be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. You'll be able to go back and watch it if there's any questions you had and what we talked about. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist where you see that green arrow. Every video that I upload, I put into a playlist. And then that way you can go down. Otherwise, you see a jumble of like 300 or 350 videos that have been posted. But this way, when you do pick on the playlist, you can go pick whatever subject it is you want. And don't click on the video, but down below where it says view full playlist, if you click there, up will come a list of the dates, the speakers, and what the topic was. So you can go back and watch any video you want at your leisure. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, please send an email to Career USA, the +subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can join us as we get going. Please remember, Career FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Kurt was a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 13 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. Please consider making a donation so we can help other people in the future. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great week. If those in Dallas, hope you're enjoying the nice cool weather. And if we don't see you until next week, have a happy July 4th.